Thank you for coming. My name is, I'm going to keep stepping out of this frame, aren't I? Do you want me to stay put? Okay. My name is Haley Giambalvo. In addition to being the VP of Communications, I head up our Native Plants in Schools Committee. And so the purpose of this presentation is just to tell you a little bit about what we're doing with schools, some of the resources that we have available for any of you that are working with schools. Just out of curiosity, are any of you currently educators or working with students? Awesome. Okay. So stop me at any time with questions, because that's what the goal of this is to help you with whatever resources you need. And I think I only have about like 45 minutes of topic, so we have plenty of time for discussion. Why do I keep double clicking? There we go. Just a little bit about myself. So this was me several years ago with my daughter and some of her fifth grade classmates. I got involved with school gardening just as a parent. I have two daughters. They're now 14 and 16, but when my youngest was in elementary school, her school had a number of raised garden beds. There was 13 of them, but they had all kind of gone neglected. And I helped with another mom to kind of reinvigorate them and turn them into native plant gardens. And I'll share them at the end of this presentation. But that's how I started. We were lucky to have a great parent-teacher organization, and they had a garden chair as like one of the roles on the board. So I became the garden chair and helped with the gardens there. And now that my youngest is at middle school, I am it's called Campus Improvement Chair, but same kind of idea. I help lead our gardening efforts at their middle school. So I'll talk about that a little later too. We've got an awesome committee kind of spread across the state of just people that are either past educators or parents or just interested in getting kids to garden with native plants. So we have some regular committee members, and then we have what I'm calling our prairie leaders. These are folks that are generously offered to lead up one of our pocket prairies that I mentioned during the state meeting that aren't necessarily like full-time committee members, but are helping us with that initiative. And I'll talk more about that later too. So why outdoor spaces matter. There's so much research on why getting kids outside is important for their overall health, their mental health and well-being, just like us adults. Like if we just are happier when we're outside and gardening, and then the same is for kids, and they just get so little of that opportunity. I know from my own kids, their inclination is not to want to go out in the backyard with me and look at the plants. Like they don't care. They don't want to be outside with me. So how do I try to bring them to their school so they see them more on a regular basis and find opportunities to get them excited to get involved? And there's a lot of, once you do get them out there and show them, how to plant something or give them a project in the garden, they get excited, even teenagers for sure. Oh. Still working on my clicker here, because it really is fun for the kids if you give them a task, they're going to want to do it. And these are some examples of watering is always a big hit. Kids love to water plants. We built some raised garden beds that were really simple. I'll talk about kind of this method for garden beds in a little while, but it's nice because you just use 2x4s with something called a castle block on the edges, or you just kind of slot them in. You don't even need tools. So it's a real simple way to make a garden bed. And then planting things. So, I was really surprised that there's a lot of middle schoolers that have never planted something. And I've had them ask me, do I need to take it out of the pot before I put it in the hole? Like they don't realize like, yeah, you got to take it out of the nursery pot. So just simple things like that, teaching them how to like loosen the roots and pot something correctly is something that we shouldn't take for granted. A lot of kids haven't done that. And I think native plants are the best option for school gardens. Most schools, when they think they want to start a garden, they're thinking vegetable gardens 90% of the time. And that's great and a lot of fun for the students. But really, those native plants offer a lot more longevity in their gardens. They can you plant them once and you can enjoy them for year after year. A lot of our perennials, they're a lot easier to grow than vegetables. They can handle our crazy climate, hot weather, and don't need a lot of pampering. Even over the summertime, they can survive without a lot of watering. And of course, they're going to bring those pollinators and some colorful blooms to your school grounds. So I think even if it's in addition to vegetable gardens, there's always room for native plants. And if you haven't seen the garden out back, have you guys walked out to see those gardens that they have here? They're amazing. I think it's just down this hallway here. Yeah. Yeah, it's beautiful. They've got such a nice garden there and nice signage and everything. So that can be your inspiration for your own schools. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about our different programs. Some of this might be old news if you're familiar with our resources already, but I'm also going to talk about some of our new initiatives this year, like our Force of Nature and our Pocket Prairie program. But just so you all know what we have available on our website. Oh gosh. Come back. This is our main landing page. So if you go to like up at the top menu bar, we have projects and programs. If you click into there, you'll see education and then native plants in schools, and it'll take you to this landing page where we have all sorts of things that you can download, or some resource links. So we've got our school garden starter kit, which I'm going to talk about. We have examples of gardens that members have done at school, some pictures and things. We've got a presentation that you can download and just go to schools and give yourself. So if a teacher is open to you coming to their classroom to talk to kids about native plants, it's a great thing that you can take with you. And then we have a really great list of curriculum ideas, activity ideas. I'm going to talk about each of these in a little bit more detail. But to start out with, we've got our School Starter Guide. I'm just going to pass a couple of these around. So it is a PDF that you can either view online or download, and it's a great little guide to give to the schools if you're approaching a principal or a teacher, or you're partnering with them, to just give them some more guidance on how to think about starting their native plant garden. What we recommend as some of the best native plants for school gardens. And we even have a little instructions for creating those garden beds that I mentioned, a step-by-step if they need to make some raised beds. And then address some of the watch outs for schools. Make sure you're by a water source, those kind of things that schools might overlook when they think about where to put in their garden. So that's available. And the main goal of that is just to try to increase the success rates of school gardens, because there's oftentimes a few reasons why they don't last long term. One of the biggest ones is just that there's not a consistent champion or person at the school that can keep it going year after year. So that's where like having a PTA possibly that always fills that position with a new parent when the previous parent moves on with their kids to the next school. So there's some consistency there, because teachers can move to different schools or in different roles. And so it's hard to only rely on a particular teacher at that school to keep it going. Or so think about how can you have consistent oversight year after year. Summer watering, that's a big one. I mean, that's the big one for me with my daughter's schools, is even our native plants, they still need some water, especially where I'm at in San Antonio, to really survive the summer. So how can you use a combination of parent-kid volunteers over the summer that have access to the water there that could just go even every couple weeks, just enough to keep them alive over those few months. That's a big one. And also, you want to make sure that there is a spigot near the gardens. And a lot of times that's not the case. Like they're thinking, oh, we'll just truck water out there. We'll have the kids take buckets, and that just doesn't really work over the long term. So having water nearby is critical. Weeding, obviously, it's not something that you're able to get out and weed on a regular basis. So what can you do to kind of keep the weeds manageable? And we recommend in that guide the cardboard and mulch method to put down in the beds around the native plants, just to really help with weeding. And also our goal as a Native Plant Society members is to help provide that knowledge. I think people have a lot of good intentions. They want to start a garden, but they might not know what plants are right for their area. And we can help direct them to the right plants for their ecoregion, and ones that are going to really be blooming while the kids are at school, those kind of things. So this is just the example of that presentation I mentioned. It's just a short presentation geared toward kids that really just introduce them to the benefits of native plants, why they're important for ecosystems, how they support our pollinators. So it's something that teachers could download and present themselves, or as a volunteer, you could go to the school. I've done that. I think most teachers are very happy to let you come to their classroom and take over a class period and talk to the kids about a new subject for them. So don't be afraid to do that. And then here's our curriculum page. So rather than trying to come up with a lot of new activities of our own, we first wanted to see what's already out there by all these other amazing organizations that provide education for kids. So we've kind of curated them all into a list by different topic categories, like we have some on grasses and trees and seeds. And if you click through them, it'll take you to that activity. So if you're ever looking for something to do with kids on a certain topic, you should definitely check out that page. We try to add to it when we find something new. This is a recent addition to our website. One of our members, Lisa Craig, came up with, she's a past science teacher, I believe. She came up with some STEAM-related activities using native plants as kind of ideas for teachers that want to incorporate them into their classroom. So that's on our website now. This is another very simple and fun idea that Doris Haston, she's a Native Plant Society member. She shared this idea with me where the teacher would just put up a new poster in her classroom every week of something to look for out in the garden, just to get kids observing when they're outside on their way to the playground. Like, have you spotted these two little birds? They're called Carolina chickadees. And, you know, just to kind of introduce some things that they might not be noticing, but now they have a reason to go out and try to find them, like a little bit of a scavenger hunt, nature detective. It's a super cute idea. Oh, goodness. Going back. Speaking of scavenger hunt, we do have a butterfly scavenger hunt on our website. You can download that little one-page worksheet with a lot of the common butterflies you'll see at this time of year in our gardens, and let kids go out and see if they can spot any of those. Nature journaling is always a simple activity that kids can do out in the garden space to get them outside. This is a school in San Antonio that does a lot of outdoor lessons. And here they are again. They've got their iPads. I think they have Seek on there. Seek is a really fun one if your school is able to download that on the kids' devices there, and they can go and use that to identify plants around the school. At my middle school, I started an iNaturalist project. So iNaturalist is just the more grown-up version of Seek. But you could start a project for your school location. So you could just see all the observations there over the years. So it's a fun way to kind of track what insects and plants the students are seeing. And then signage. Signage is really important for school gardens to bring kids in and to help educate them, and so they're not just looking at a plant and not knowing anything about it. You can talk about the types of things that that plant is attracting. So these are some signs I made for my daughter's elementary school. They had Turk's cap, and there was always hummingbirds visiting the Turk's cap. So asking the kids if they notice one and telling them that they love to drink nectar from red tube-shaped flowers. And this plant is called Turk's cap. And then similarly with the mealy blue sage, always has bumblebees on it. And of course, the Greg's mist flower is a big attractor of queen butterflies and monarchs. Out here in the gardens, they have some really nice signage as well for each of the plants. So you can get creative, but I definitely think signage goes a long way. And it can also prevent the district mowers from mowing down your gardens too. If they, I have a lot of those signs as well. Any questions on our resources before I move on? I went through that pretty fast, but I've talked about that quite a bit, so it might not have been new information, but definitely take advantage of it. And if you have ideas for other things you'd like to see, let us know, because we want to make sure we're offering helpful things. Yes?
Have you looked at integrating the plant sale with schools?
No, to say more. What are you thinking? Oh, okay. The question was, thank you, Renata. Have we thought about integrating like chapter plant sales with the schools?
Yeah, so I noticed that at the plant sale, there's a lot of opportunity through the whole ecosystem, the life cycle of the plant sale. And the plant sale is a big fundraiser, but it also could be an educational opportunity because you have to initially create the plants from the seeds.
Oh, yeah.
So people foster those. Then there's the labor of getting all the plants to the location.
So you're thinking of like having students help with that?
Yeah.
I'll repeat that. So he's saying just all the work that goes into creating the plants for the plant sales, like raising the seedlings into plants that are ready to be sold, bringing them to the plant sale. I mean, that would be really a great way to involve students.
And it's very educational because they're going to be labeling them.
Absolutely.
And then potentially there could be an opportunity. I'm part of the New Braunfels chapter.
Cool.
I'm going to be the new chair for the plant sale.
Nice, yeah.
I'm sort of thinking about things as the team comes up.
Well, what I would recommend, just knowing from my experience, middle schoolers would be great at that. A lot of them want service hours for their different organizations that they're involved in, like National Junior Honor Society. And so they would love something like that. Now, the growing part, they might not have enough knowledge to do well, but like definitely helping the day of or labeling and those kind of things. Yeah.
And then the last piece is, of course, when you do the plant sale, I think a lot of the people that come to the plant sale have a lot of optimism,
Uh-huh.
but it's not necessarily easy, at least where we are in the hill country, to plant the plants, get them in the ground, get them kind of set up, get them the compost and everything. So I was thinking the last step would be potentially maybe some kids that would be available for service hours to help the people that bought the plants, get them in the ground and get them set up.
Oh, wow. I mean, that would be awesome if like a program like that, if you had the right group of kids.
Understand how our chapter could engage with the school. I'll
Sure.
ping our chapter as well to see, the communication of how we might reach
Neat.
out to what schools
Uh-huh.
with some of these opportunities.
Yeah, I love
think
it.
It's a pretty interesting concept
Absolutely.
where the whole life cycle of this could be opportunities.
Yeah, so just for the people online, he had the idea of getting kids involved in chapter plant sales and from beginning to the end, ways that they could be involved while learning and earning service hours. So that's a cool idea. That's something I hadn't thought of. One other thing with plant sales is, if you ever have leftover plants, that's a great thing to donate to the schools too, for sure. So yeah, making those connections with schools in your area, I think is really important. Yes, Darcy.
Summertime.
Yes.
I'm just curious, I know I saw in the finance report, there's some dollars for quote education. Would there ever be like a paid internship or seasonal job where some kids that were involved in the garden could maybe get a summer job by growing?
Well, okay. So her idea was with the watering issue. I have to repeat it for people online. Sorry. I'm wondering why I'm saying it twice. For the watering of the gardens over the summer, is there ever a possibility to have like a paid internship for a student to take on that job over the summer? That's a clever idea too. Yeah, I mean, you have to get clever. Yes. Mm-hmm. That's a fun idea. Yeah, I like that. Give them some more ownership over it too, right? Like, I think that's important. And in general, just making sure that, yeah, the kids are helping with the actual maintenance of the garden is really important as well. So it's not just the adults going and putting it in and then hoping that the kids will, take advantage of it, but actually having them do the work is a really important part of it, for sure. All right, now I'm going to talk about the Force of Nature competition. So we started this last year, and the whole idea came from this school. So the librarian here, and Linda Griffith, the president of the Tonkawa chapter, came up with this idea, which is pretty cool. So we brought it to life last year and we gave it a shot. We had some 20 schools enter last year, and the idea is that you just form a team of middle schoolers. It can be a small team, it can be a large team. We don't have really a lot of restrictions around it, but they just have to pick one topic that they want to explore with their research that's related to Texas native plants, any type of research project. They have a whole year to work on it, and we just ask that they put their findings in a presentation by March 30th or 31st. Is there a March 31st? I don't even know. Okay. I think this year I said 30th. I don't know why, but anyway, so then we had a set of judges. Some of our Native Plant Society members offered to be judges, and the winning team won a trophy. They won a $300 garden grant and several native plant books for their library. So I'm going to talk about some of last year's teams. And this year our deadline just closed. We had about, I think, 21 schools enter again this year, which I'm excited about. So hopefully we can make it bigger and better every year. This was the list of teams for last year. So I didn't have time to update it with the latest information because I had to turn this presentation in a few days ago. But this is last year's school. So you can see that we had a good range of schools across the state. And we're really hoping that the chapters can help us get the word out to their local schools going forward as well, just so we have a good distribution of schools participating. The ones in bold are the ones that did submit their project at the end. So we did have quite a bit of drop off, of the 20 schools, just 6 of them completed their project. So we want to make sure we get more schools seeing it through to the end. But, the school year gets really busy really fast, and a lot of them were starting gardens from scratch. And so trying to use plants that have just gotten in the ground that fall for a research project before that spring is kind of hard just with the timing. You need more of, if you're going to use a mature garden, it needs to be more mature so you can start your observations earlier. But we're also trying to find ways to think about research that doesn't require a full-on garden either, but can still use native plants. So we came up with some better example research topics this year that they can do without having a mature garden. Here is an example of the projects that were submitted last year. We had some cool projects. So one of the schools looked at edible native plants and created an edible native plant garden. Another school looked at 2 beds. One had compost in it and one had potting soil. And they had the same plants in each beds and tried to see which plants grew better between the compost and the potting soil. The winning school, United Middle School, they looked at different ways to germinate milkweed and which one was the most successful. A school in San Antonio researched looking into how native plants have been used as dyes and what plants are good for dyeing fabrics and things. Another homeschool in San Antonio, they built a garden and observed what pollinators and wildlife that their garden attracted. And then another school, they had kind of almost like the Wildflower Center discussion today. They had 3 test plots and they prepped them in different ways. One of them, they may have tilled, I believe. Another one, they left whatever was growing there as is. And then the third, they maybe solarized and they scattered seeds on all of those to see which one was the best for germinating the seeds in the spring. So lots of different topics you can cover with the research. I mean, it's kind of endless. And they all came up with some good things. There's our winning school. Very excited for them. There's the trophy. Oh, yeah, the trophy's right there. They've got the trophy and the books that were delivered to their school. So really fun to see the students that participated. And then I just included a couple slides from their actual presentation that they turned in. So these, they did a beautiful job with the look and feel and everything of how they presented their information. But these were their 6 different germination methods they used. They had a control. They tried root powder, cold stratification, scarification, 2 different types. So they tried to poke holes in the seed with a pen, and they used sandpaper to rough up the seeds. And then others, they just scattered outside and left them alone. So and we always want to encourage them, once they, thought of their research question, to develop a hypothesis. So their hypothesis was that the root powder would be the most effective for the milkweed to grow. And then this was the data. So they had 4 different groups, and each of the 4 groups tried all 6 of the methods, I believe. And so they kind of added up how many seedlings they were able to produce with each method. And based on that, it looks like that the root powder was the most successful over the control. So the control might be is also pretty successful. I guess that's it from their school. But just to give you an idea of we want them to structure their project. We want them to collect the data and to show the data in an understandable way. And we tried to give them some guidance on what we were looking for in their presentation. Like I said, clear and logical way of depicting their information. We wanted them to get creative and how they presented their content. if they used different sources to list those, just trying to help them create a good research project. So if you want to help mentor one of our teams this year, let me know and I can put you in contact with one of them, because we do offer them the opportunity to have a Native Plant Society mentor just to answer their questions, provide resources. Would love to have each team paired up with someone. It's pretty low key, but just someone that they can reach out to if they need a little help. Maybe giving them some plant suggestions if they are starting a garden. All of those would be great. So let me know. And then I want to tell you about our new Pocket Prairie initiative. This is very exciting. So as I mentioned during our business meeting, we received a grant from the Texas Parks and Wildlife Foundation for this school year, and it's $6,000. So we have $1,000 for each school that's participating to install pocket prairies at their school. And we worked with the folks on our committee to reach out to chapters where we had enough people interested to kind of spearhead this with a local school. So this is how we kind of came up with the schools that we're working with. We didn't put out like an open call to schools just because we wanted to make sure we had the Native Plant Society people there that were going to help lead them through the project. Since this is the first time we're doing it and we're kind of figuring it out as we go. But we did get a good distribution of schools. We have one in San Antonio. The Salado ISD is involved, and so tomorrow one of the field trips is actually to go to the area, their outdoor learning center, where they've already started prepping the pocket prairie. They're solarizing it. We've got one down in RGV, in the Dallas area. Austin and Clear Lake all have gardens, so it's going to be fun to see it happen. And I don't think Cheryl's in here, but Cheryl Folks is with the Galveston garden, and they've already started. I don't even know if they may have already started planting, but they've already started prepping the whole area, so it's very exciting. So we gave the schools this kind of rough timeline of how it would work with them. So last spring we met with the teacher that would be the kind of sponsor, and the principal typically told them that we had planned to do some prep over the summer. So this is a picture of the San Antonio school where we put out plastic to solarize the area over the summer. And the goal is that we start prepping the site and sowing the seeds this month, hopefully this month or November, so that they can start to germinate over the winter. And then starting in the spring, we'll hopefully see the prairie take off and get the kids out there to start experiencing the prairie. And we've got some education that we want to do with them. And then knowing that it takes a while for a prairie to mature, our goal is to be partnering with these schools over the next few years, helping them make sure that they're watering it from time to time, keeping any invasives out, all of that. And I was going to show you some of the educational materials that we've created. So I'm super excited about this. This was thanks to the Texas Parks and Wildlife Foundation. They connected us with this amazing company called the Visitor Experience. They create these workbooks for kids, and they let us work with them to develop one for our Pocket Prairie initiative. They designed it. We just got to provide input on the content, and we will have these for all of the students involved in the project. So I'll pass this around, and this is our our proof copy there. But it turned out really neat. I think the teachers will really enjoy that, and our committee's coming up with like a teacher manual, I guess, some additional teacher guidance so that they can use that workbook with their students. And each pocket prairie will get really nice metal signs to help educate the students and any visitors to the school on what they're seeing in front of them, what is a pocket prairie. So it's a really great initiative, and I'm excited to see it come together. Any questions about our two main projects that we have going on, Force of Nature or the Pocket Prairies? I think that's it for the... So, okay, here's how you can help us. You can start sharing our starter kit. If you know of a teacher that might be interested in starting a native plant garden, please do direct them to our website, to our resources and our starter kit. offer to help present to a classroom about native plants, mentor a team for the force of nature, or join our committee. All right, you can come talk to me if you want to join our committee, or you can email native plants in schools at NIPSOT, but we would love to have you. And then I just have a couple of pictures of the schools that I've worked on. We have plenty of time, Renata?
Yes, you do.
Okay. I was going to share where I got started working with schools. So this was Huebner Elementary in San Antonio. And as I mentioned, we had these raised beds, but they had really gotten out of control. This is not, this is not my daughter here. It was another mom who actually was the champion of it. She's the one that said, we're going to do something about this. And that's her daughter. But it was probably, a year or so after COVID, and things had not been taken care of for several years. And so she hired someone to help remove all that plant material out of the bed so they were bare soil again. And then she asked me to help come up with some native plants to make a native plant pollinator garden, because I think previously it was probably vegetables primarily that were in the beds. And so we did that a few years ago, but within a couple weeks, we started seeing like a lot of weeds coming up already around those plants and a lot of Bermuda grass coming in. So we decided, okay, we're going to try the cardboard method, and we got a bunch of cardboard from the school's recycling bin, which is like the source for cardboard. So you'll never have any shortage of cardboard if you're doing projects at schools. And just laid it out around the plants already in those beds, put shredded wood mulch on top, and that helped tremendously. Like that cuts down a lot on weeding and just makes the beds look a lot better. I will say though, if you're putting a raised bed on Bermuda, just don't do it. Just don't do it, because it's no matter what, that Bermuda grass finds a way into those beds and will come up around the edges and then eventually start to spread out over the mulch. So that is a constant battle no matter what, but it's a lot better than not having that cardboard there. And then maybe the next year, really some of these beds have been there for a long time. I don't know how many years, but they were starting to crumble and deteriorate. So we had a weekend work day where the students came out with their parents, and we rebuilt all 13 beds using that method I talked about with the castle blocks. And I think these are 8 foot long. And then you just cut one of them in half for the short edge there, and just slot them into the castle blocks. And if you want to make it taller, you just stack another block on top, and you can use like a metal rod in the center. There's a hole there to kind of keep it in place if you want. But we were able to dismantle those and build the new ones within like an hour and a half. I mean, it was fast. It was pretty cool. And then that's what it looked like the next spring. It was very happy and lots of pollinators. Things were going well until somehow the district magically cut off our water. I never got a full story on what happened, but the water is still not running out of those spigots many years later. So it's unfortunate. I haven't been back to the garden in the last year to see, but even when I would check on it over the last couple of years, since my daughter hasn't been at school there, like those plants were still surviving on rainfall because they had been in the beds for at least a year before the water got cut.
These beds make it even harder.
Yeah. So it was unfortunate. And when I was still there, I was working with the principal and the custodian, and I don't know really what happened there. There was a faucet, a spigot way down, like too far to stretch a hose, but it was still working. But the one by the beds wasn't working anymore. So I hope someday they work that out. But it's just one of the realities of school gardens is there's some things that are out of your control. But there's definitely some fighters in there that I know are still going strong, like the Flamicanthus, or like that'll do fine without supplemental water. But here's some pictures of the kids there. They loved the mistflower. I mean, it was covered in queens at this time of year. So excited for that, and all different types of pollinators. So it's fun to see them get excited about the different butterflies. And then now, where I'm at now is Eisenhower Middle School. It's an old school building. I think it's been there since, like 65 years. It's a 65-year-old building. The building itself looks pretty sad, so we're trying to improve it with the gardens around. And it's a kind of a neat campus because there's a lot of outdoor courtyards in between the buildings, and they have giant live oak trees and a lot of landscape beds there. So I've been filling them with native plants over the last couple of years. secretly. That unfortunately they're mostly shade plants. We don't have much sun, so that kind of limits what we can plant. But we have this awesome program started by the previous campus improvement chair. It was a dad, previous military guy that said, I'm going to get big groups of students out here on the weekends and we're going to put them to work. We're going to mulch. And so we will get 50 plus kids like once a month to come on a Saturday morning if we offer them donuts and some Gatorade, and they work for a couple hours, and it's a lot of fun. They pick up trash. We do gardening, mulching. Every month we have kind of a different focus, but it's a great way to get the kids involved, especially at that middle school age. And we had a grant last year to help us build out our pollinator habitat. So this is kind of a typical example of our garden beds. We've got a lot of Turk's cap and things in there. And then this is our one sunny bed. And that is completely filled in now with Esperanza, Mealy Blue Sage, Rock Rose. I did put a passion vine in there. I'm kind of regretting that. And so it's right in a central part of their campus by the cafeteria. So you'll see hummingbirds and butterflies there. The passion vine did have a ton of golf fritillary caterpillars on it. And it's like propped up right against this wall, and they would climb up the wall, and you would see all these chrysalis along there's like a little edge where they made their chrysalis. So that's kind of cool. Just some more pictures of the kids at work doing the planting. They built like a bird feeder. Those are our buckets to pick up trash. You never believe how much trash is around in middle school. It's crazy. Then the last project, this is what got me excited and wanted to help with this school, because when I was there for one of the work days when the previous dad was in charge, I said, what's this area about? How come, what's been planted there? He's like, I don't know. Do you want to take it on? I'm like, yeah, I'll do this. Because it's such a pretty mural. This was painted in like 2017. I think they had some garden grant money at the time and had used those beds for, I think, some vegetable gardening. And they previously had a garden club. But of course, since COVID, it kind of didn't come back together, and this got taken over by Bermuda grass and everything. But it's surrounded on all sides by a walkway, so it's kind of contained. So I suggested that we take out the raised beds, since they're already kind of deteriorating, and solarize the whole area to try to get rid of the Bermuda grass. So that was a project that the students helped with on one of our work days. In the spring, we covered it all with heavy plastic, put it down with like landscape staples and bricks and things to hold it down over the summer. And this just gets full sun all day long, so it baked all summer long. And by the fall, it was like amazing. It was clear dirt. All the Bermuda had been killed. We just kind of raked everything in and made a walkway through there. So that was in September of 2023. And then kind of starting in October, I sowed a bunch of wildflower seeds, and the kids added transplants as well. I think it's kind of nice to do both, just because you're not ever certain how well the seeds are going to germinate, and this will get things growing a little quicker as well. So we put in some perennials. And then I use like wildflower seed mixes from Native American Seed. And then things started popping up. We had some signs that I made. Believe it or not, part of that still got mowed down with that sign. So yeah, I came one day and there was like a section of it with no plants. I thought, what happened? And then I realized like someone had started going in with a weed whacker, and then maybe they saw the sign and they stopped. So more signs, the better, for sure. And that's what it looked like in this
Wow.
spring. I couldn't believe how good it was. Thank you. Thank you. The funny thing is, I've been trying to do this at my home for like 5 years, and I am not even close to that. So I was super thrilled. I think the key was bare soil, full sun, and I think the rain just was at the right time, to really get it started. So we've had 2 full years now. The second year, I didn't do any reseeding, just let it reseed itself. And it's interesting, like a different combination of plants came up. And I mean, it's still looking good. And then this fall, I think we're going to do some more. There are some weeds that have encroached that have either they were in the seed bank still, or that, so there's going to be a little maintenance that we need to do, and maybe some more seeding this fall for the spring. But it's a fun project. So Yeah.
So you have a native pocket prairie,
Hmm.
so you can't go in there and lay plastic or solarize it or cardboard. What do you do? So you just go and weed it by hand and then?
That's what that's what I've been doing. So the question was, when there is a pocket prairie like that with a bunch of plant material already there, yeah, it's harder to solarize it or to put down cardboard and mulch. I've just been hand pulling, but there is actually an area that's gotten kind of out of control with it's a ground cover called Black Medic, I think it's called, and I'm thinking about putting down cardboard and mulch over that, and then just putting some transplants in there in the spring is an idea. Yeah. But if you tell the kids, okay, let's see what this plant looks like, just, just dig up those plants. Like, let them know, like, that's the one you're going after. They'll do a good job. Yes.
Did you intentionally do it randomly, or did you give them like areas and then it's kind of evolved to that, or how did you?
That we just scattered it randomly. Just a few different mixes. Okay. The question was, how did we get the arrangement of flowers? We just scattered the seeds randomly. I think I had like a hummingbird mix and I think they have a butterfly and bee mix, and yeah, it just kind of how it came together. We just threw the seeds on the ground and we stomped on them. Yep. And I don't know if this had a role in it being successful or not, but we initially had some raised planters around the edges. I'll show you. There were these red raised planters, and they were full of potting soil, and they wanted to move those planters to a different part of the school, so they had dumped the potting soil all out over that area. So potting soil might be good for wildflowers. I think that might have helped. Yeah, I don't know. That was my theory. All right, I've got a 5-minute warning, but that's actually all I have to talk to you guys about. So if there's any questions.
Question.
Yeah.
Money y'all received?
Yes.
For that project, it's enough to cover all the expenses?
Well, that's a great question. So she asked if the money we received for that, we received a $1,000 grant, was that enough money to cover all the expenses? I would say for that wildflower bed, that would be more than enough. I probably spent $50 on seeds and $150 on plants and $150 on rock. But we had like the tools and stuff, the volunteers will bring tools. But for all of our work days over the course of the year, I have a PTA budget. So I get $1,000 from the PTA as well. And that goes towards, supplies, but also like food for the kids and things. So you can actually do a lot with not too much funding.
And there was
Especially-
area.
there's a spigot right there. And I would say one thing that we have on our site is we get free mulch from the city. So I don't know if a lot of cities offer this, but in San Antonio, they will deliver a big truckload of mulch to schools for free. And so we use that. Yep. Yes.
It sounds like you were kind of working with the other PTA people.
Mhm.
Do you feel like there was work to do there in convincing them that they wanted this to happen, or were they really please help us? And if not, I mean, for any other schools, like if we're trying to get this into other schools, do you feel like we should be working more closely with PTAs, or
Yes.
trying to
Okay,
imagine
so
like we kind of create that excitement so that other schools want to do this?
So the question was it hard to convince the school to do the different gardening efforts, or were they already excited about it? I'd say for this one, because we had already started this campus improvement kind of idea where kids would come on the weekend. Really what had happened was at that campus, these beds had so many leaves and stuff in them from like years and years of there just wasn't anything being done. Like the custodians can't take care of that much outdoor area. So they were just anxious for any help, to start cleaning up some things. And then by beautifying it with the gardens, like that was just like the natural next step. So we haven't had any real pushback there, but I would say having that PTA role is really a nice thing to have, because it's just a lot to ask of the teachers and the principal to think about that on top of their, but yeah, if you have some teachers at the school that can partner with you and help get the kids involved, like I think that's the ideal situation where you have both parent volunteers and teacher champions for it, for sure. Yeah. Yes, Renata?
Yeah, on
Okay. Okay.
Once a garden or bed is established, how do you foresee students remaining involved, or perhaps what is the continuing evolution of the program?
So once a garden bed is established, how do students remain involved and what's the continuing evolution of that program? I mean, ideally, the teachers would want to find ways to incorporate that into their curriculum, finding ways to get the kids out there for, I mean, we have those STEAM activities even that they can use in the garden, or math activities. So finding a teacher to partner with you would be awesome, or a garden club to get started. I've tried at my middle school. I haven't had a lot of luck getting a teacher because I've offered to come to their classroom and talk about pollinators and things. So, but every school is different. There's teachers that are really excited about this kind of stuff that would love to have that garden as a resource and get their kids involved in it. But as far as like actually maintaining the garden, I would say, yeah, have the kids involved in watering, have them involved in maintenance. So at my daughter's middle school, their ALE kids, the special needs kids, are going to help water our plants every week. I just got them watering cans. So they have some, ownership in it too. So there's all sorts of things. We have a bird feeder that they're going to start refilling, and yeah, you just kind of have to get creative, and it just depends on, each school is a little different. But I do think in general, there is like an uphill battle in terms of, their school day is very busy and very filled, and younger kids especially are like afraid of bees, and so the teachers are like, don't touch the plants, or say, so trying to get over that mindset of we want the kids to interact with the plants and to not be afraid of getting in the garden, getting their hands dirty. But I think starting with having them involved in the actual, like putting the plants in the ground is a big part of it, because I know, like my daughter, when she was in elementary school, she had put one particular plant in this garden bed, and then for the next several weeks, she would go back to check on her plant to make sure, like, does my plant need water? So there is something to be said for having the kids actually put the plants in the ground. Yeah, definitely ownership is key. Awesome. Any other questions in the room? So a couple of you said you were teachers. Do you have a garden at your school?
So we have a butterfly garden that a teacher started almost 10 years ago now.
Cool.
And we did have, like, through COVID even, like, we had some work days and stuff.
That's fantastic.
But it's kind of, it's really big and it gets really overgrown.
Yeah.
There's like a path that's supposed to be nice to walk through and stuff, but there's like weeds everywhere, and it's just been a lot to maintain. And that teacher now is still there, but she teaches math.
Yep.
So, like, yeah, I would like to try to revitalize that somehow, but really I need, like, parents.
Yes.
That's
Yep.
what I'm trying to figure out. Plus, like, with our curriculum, like, we need to, like, we have to be teaching what we're assigned to teach basically through STARS.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
then we
Yep.
have stuff in May. That's not the best thing, I don't think.
Mhm.
But, like, we have time to, like, learn about the garden then, but it's like figuring out ways to, because it's like I have like 170 students in middle school, right? Because I'm switching through all these classes. So, like, I can't take them all out.
That's enough. Yes.
Like, am I gonna convince them to come to a club? Like, when they could go to so many other clubs.
All very good points.
Yeah.
An example of that is in one of our garden beds, we had an herb garden too. We had basil and mint, and I talked to our, it's not called home ec anymore. I can't remember, family services, or one of the teacher that does cooking classes with the middle schoolers. And I said, you should bring, feel free to use these herbs for your cooking class, bring the kids out here. And he kind of said something similar. It's like, I have like, I don't know, 150 kids. It's hard to, how do you bring them all to the garden at one time? So I get that. It's hard to do it within school hours when you've got big classes. But what I was going to suggest is, like, you would be surprised if you just advertised a family work day on like an after school or a weekend morning. Like, you can knock out a lot of stuff in an hour if you get some parents. It's a lot of fun. I mean, the kids actually look forward to it. Like, the reason that I even, like, we schedule work days not because we have a lot to do, but because the kids want to go and show up and get hours and hang out with their friends. And so, yeah, it's a good thing. Yes.